Hey everybody, how are you? I'm sure you're probably just finishing up cleaning your labs, and if you're not, if you're in your office, or if you came in from the link that we sent out via social media, I just want to welcome everybody. I'm Chef TJ Deladon. I'm the Assistant Dean here at the College of Food Innovation and Technology, and just want to welcome you to Alumni Leaders Day, coming to you virtually as most things are in 2020. But I think there's a silver lining, and the silver lining here is that we have alum all over the country right now. They're going to introduce themselves. They're going to tell you a little bit about where they are and what they do. This is coming to you as a collaboration between the Office of Alumni Relations and the College of Food Innovation and Technology. We want to celebrate the alum that are on the call for all of their successes and what they've been able to do in their respective parts of the industry. We are so grateful for them for taking the time out of their day. I know they're busy. We're all busy, and we certainly appreciate it. So I would be remiss if I did not thank you all so much for taking the time for being here with us. There's going to be a good, robust conversation. We certainly want to dive into some of the big elephants. We all know where our industry is due to COVID-19. And everyone on this call has certainly been affected in some way, myself included. So I want to get started. We have about an hour. We came on a couple minutes late, and I want to make sure that I leave about 15 minutes around 12:45 for questions and answers. And when we do that, there's a feature at the bottom of your Zoom screen that says Q&A. Please type your questions in there, and then I'll introduce Liza from Alumni Relations to help facilitate some of those questions. Please ask away. And I know 15 minutes isn't a ton of time, and especially for lab faculty, obviously there's no camera on your end. We can't see you, so you'll just have to type that in right from your Podium PC. Okay? So enough about me. I want to start this off. I'm just kind of going to go in order. I want the alum to please introduce themselves. Tell us what company you're with, or who you're with, and what you do, and then we'll jump into some more detailed questions about your time at JWU and so on and so forth. So I'm going to start with Chef Jorge Cespedes. Thank you so much, Jorge, for being here with us.
Thank you for inviting me, TJ. Again, my name is Jorge Cespedes. I'm from San Jose, Costa Rica, and I graduated Johnson & Wales in 2012. Right now, I'm a culinary creative director for Marlin Network, which is a network of a lot of different agencies focused on the marketing and research of food. A lot of photography, a lot of videos, a lot of campaigns for some of the biggest food clients in the industry.
That's great. And I'll tell you what, Jorge, we get a ton of questions about food photography and videography and that, kind of, again, sector of our industry. So when we come back and we circle back, we'd love to hear a little bit more about what that entails. Next, Chef Spencer Cole. How are you, Spence?
Good. How are you, T?
Great.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
So TJ mentioned my name is Spencer Cole. I work for Winston Industries. We are a restaurant equipment manufacturer based out of Louisville, Kentucky. I manage the South Pacific, Western United States, all of Europe, and part of the Middle East for global sales. So I facilitate anything that we produce to all types of QSRs, to mom and pop restaurants in those territories.
Fabulous. We appreciate it, and we know you're coming in from the West Coast, my favorite coast. Oh, don't tell anybody. I love the West Coast, love Camarillo. So thanks for being here. Next, Chef Matthew Jaffe.
Hey T, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You got it.
I am the managing partner of the Capitol Burger in Washington, D.C. We're part of a large company called Darden, which most of you might know of, Olive Garden, Seasons 52, Eddie V's. For the past 10 years, I've been working for that company, and I graduated in 2004. I actually graduated with TJ. So
great. It's a good year. Couple years later, we graduated somebody pretty awesome too. Her name's Stephanie Cmar, and I'm going to allow her to introduce herself. Chef?
This is so exciting. I'm Stephanie Cmar. I graduated in 2007 in 4 1/3 years, so something I'm pretty proud of. I'm actually self-employed, so I'm a private chef up in Boston. I'm currently on the West Coast now. quarantining to go film some stuff. So yeah, self-employed, great career path.
Rock star though. You know her from Top Chef. Don't be bashful.
Oh yeah, Top Chef.
That, you know, that thing. So next coming to us, and I sent it out in the email this morning, and I was like, this is totally cool. He gets to do nutrition for the UFC, which I'm a huge fan of. So Chef Mario Limaduran, if you want to introduce yourself.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. Again, my name is Mario Limaduran. Sorry if I'm a little bit groggy. I literally landed from Fight Island a couple hours ago. I'm in Vegas at the moment. So it was a 15-hour flight. I'm the executive performance chef of Trifecta Nutrition. We are the largest organic meal delivery company in the nation. We ship nationwide, and aside from having a direct-to-consumer market, we also take care of performance nutrition, and my job is divided in 50% attending to this big project that we call the UFC. And I've been developing the program over the last 2 years. And the other 50% has to do with creating new recipes, R&D, pretty much for Trifecta, for the meal lines, and creating content. So a lot of video and food photography for the blog.
Wow, that is super cool. You had a big retirement announcement this past weekend. So thank you for being here. We certainly appreciate it. Next, Chef Mike Haracz. How are you, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for having me.
Got it.
Yeah, so my name is Chef Mike Haracz. I've been in the R&D industry now for 14 plus years. Most notably, I was the manager of culinary innovation for the US menu for McDonald's. I then, of course, left McDonald's and was in a bunch of Wendy's advertising as a former McDonald's person. But then right now I am a consultant and kind of work for myself as well. I do a variety of content creation, not only in the food space, but also in the gaming world as well. So I just did some stuff with 100 Thieves, the esports organization. I've notably done a lot of stuff with organizations like Rooster Teeth, and then House Party app, Amazon Live. So all these other brands that need culinary support, I do a variety of shenanigans.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Mike. We appreciate it. And also coming from the West Coast, Chef Kristen Lopez. How are you?
Hi, good morning. I'm fine. So I graduated in 2013, and I currently oversee the entire in-house bread production for Facebook's internal kitchens. So kind of like internal wholesale.
Great. Well, thank you, Kristen. We certainly appreciate it. And if I'm not mistaken, maybe not this session, but next session, Chef Stam will be on to watch. He's just retired this past year.
Oh, yeah.
But I sent it to him because I know how much he cares about you and how proud he is of you and all of your accomplishments.
Well, thanks.
Yep. And next, may have seen him, and he may not be that unfamiliar a face. You may see him on the Food Network. Mr. Jordan Pilarski, how are you?
Good morning from the West Coast again. Good afternoon for everyone. Yeah, so my name is Jordan Pilarski. I live in beautiful Santa Barbara, California. I work at the Ritz-Carlton Bacara, Santa Barbara. And yes, I'm a pastry chef there. And I have been on Food Network a couple times. I have actually a new show coming out November 15th.
Nice.
There, but nice to meet everyone and happy to be here. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jordan. We appreciate it. Santa Barbara is definitely one of my favorites. That's for sure. And last but not least, this wasn't in alphabetical order, like I had said. You're probably like, "Wow, Chef Deladon has no idea what alphabetical order is." So, but Lindley Connor, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I actually was thinking that. So thank you. No, they forgot about me. So my name's Lindley. I'm from the class of 2014. I'm in San Diego too, but I miss the East Coast all the time. I do love it here. And I'm the Chief Operating Officer for Top Notch Catering. We're a school nutrition catering company, the largest local food service management company in San Diego. And during COVID, we've almost 5 times our capacity. Even today, I had to lock the door because we're doing 24,000 meals just today. And I'm also the co-founder for a new incubator kitchen initiative. That's a nonprofit entity that will support local economy, community farms, and just kind of reinvigorating the food service industry for Southern California.
Wow. I will say this, you know, when you see it on paper, you know everybody on the list, you know they're all alum. You know, I send the emails out to everybody. I said, we have an incredible group of individuals coming to share out today. But when you actually hear what you're all doing from you know, from your personal experience, and I'm kind of just, I'm completely inspired. I really am. That's the truth. So thank you so much. I'm going to jump into another question, and we'll kind of target it a little bit towards the alum. Tell us about your first job out of college, and how that job led to other opportunities for you. And if you want to couple in how Johnson & Wales prepared you to take that job, or how Johnson & Wales prepared you to even where you are today, I think that's a great tie-in and a good dovetail. So why don't we start with Chef Matt Jaffe, about your first job. I think I know what your first job out of school was.
Yeah, yeah, I think you do. You were there. So first job out of school, you know, I worked my whole way through college, obviously, which I would highly suggest for all of the students that are sitting there now. But my first job, actually, we were at graduation, and Dean Deladon came up to me. Obviously, it was just TJ at that point, but he came up to me and said, "Hey, what are you doing for the summer?" And you know, he's got a gig going on out at Fisher's Island, and Chef Wallenberg, who was heading up the whole operation out at the Hay Harbor Club on Fisher's Island that summer, myself, TJ, Chef Wallenberg, and another close friend of ours, we ran that kitchen for the entire summer. So, you know, it's interesting how that prepared me for what I'm doing now. You know, without that connection that I had with TJ, with Chef Wallenberg, you know, I wouldn't be where I am today. It kind of, TJ also, you know, helped facilitate my position to where I am today, with Darden. You know, somebody from Alumni Relations at the time called him, said, "Hey, there's an open position at a Capitol Grill in Baltimore. Do you know anybody who would be interested in taking that position?" And you know, I was fortunate enough to be able to, you know, take that position about 10 years ago. So I think a lot of what goes on at Johnson & Wales is about connections, and about how you form those connections, and how you, you know, continue to have those connections with the people, your chef instructors, your deans, your other alumni, and making sure that, you know, through those connections, you have a possibility of, good to see you too, Chef Wallenberg. It's, you know, having those connections, and really that's what education's about in, you know, big picture, I guess. Right on.
How about Stephanie? How about your time here, and what you got into right after 4 1/3 years or whatever?
my 4 1/3 years of being an exceptional student. So right before I graduated from Johnson & Wales, I actually started working at Top of the Hub, which to me was like, it's now shuttered, but that was like the peak of gourmet. I was super excited. And it was actually the first career move that changed just about everything in my life, because that's where I met my best friend, Kristen Kish, who also, she was a Top Chef season 10 winner. And because of that friendship, it kind of led us to applying for Top Chef and whatnot. But I have to say that Johnson & Wales gave me, it took a while. It didn't come naturally necessarily, but it gave me a lot of discipline going towards the future, sort of what my expectations were. But also when I was at JWU, I felt like I took a lot of chances and opportunities. I went a lot of places and did what I could. And I've kind of kept that attitude as I've gone through my career. Like I told you, I'm out here in Oregon right now, and I have no idea what I'm getting into, but I know that the risk is probably going to be worth the reward. But yeah, I would say that working at Top of the Hub was really interesting because I was so green. Unlike Matt, and I should have, I didn't really work through culinary school. I worked for Narragansett as a beer girl. I digress. But so like going forward, it was very cool. And when you go into kitchens, one thing that I always tell kids and students and even adults is that you're going to culinary school to learn foundations, but every restaurant you go in after that point, you will be relearning the same thing. So always learn your foundations, always keep keep your focus, but also know that you're going to have to pivot and adjust and kind of relearn over and over and over again with a smile on your face. I do not suggest not smiling, as I tried it in many kitchens to be like, I know how to do this. I didn't. So yeah.
That is a fantastic point. You know, there's, we even experience it here. You know, we have, 70 plus faculty, and everyone has a way of doing things. And, sometimes I'll hear, but chef told me how to do it this way. And I'm like, well, that's great, but building a repertoire, is collecting a little piece of something from everybody. And constantly, like you said, being a lifelong learner and relearning, even if you think you know it, again, a smiling face and the humility, right? Just saying, okay,
exactly.
Yeah, you know what? I've worked Garmo here, but I'm just gonna, I'm gonna go with the flow. They might make their ceviche dressing a little bit different over here. So thank you so much for that. How about Spence? How about your time in school and your first job after?
So my time at Johnson Wales was kind of quick. My ultimate goal was to get out of school as fast and as cheap as possible. So part of that, while I was there, is I worked for the university. I was a TA and ultimately an MDP, so I could get my master's. It had its both good and bads with that route. As I was on an expedited course, I kind of didn't venture out as much as possible. I should have taken advantage of more opportunities to connect with people, to work events. So I'd say, do that. As a student, I would, in hindsight, go out and pick up any odd job or stage as much as possible wherever I can. But working for the university, I got to get close to the instructors and a lot of the peers that I had at the time. And keeping those connections over the years is really what kind of led me to where I am now. I actually got my job by running into my now boss in Chicago. So in contact.
Who was a Johnson Wales alum, right?
Yep.
Right on. How about you, Lindley? How about your time at Johnson Wales and what you did right outside of graduation?
My time at Johnson & Wales was humbling, is the best way to put it. I had been working in restaurants since I was 12, just with busing, anything they would let me do illegally. If I can make side salads, that's great. I'm going to make side salads today. And I remember my first course was meat cutting, and I'm a vegetarian. I have been for 18 years. And with this might not be it for me. But then I actually changed my mind and went, I'm going to kill it. I'm going to rise above and realize this industry is really difficult for a reason. So if you can survive it, then the rewards, it's unmeasurable. The mistake I made was, like previous panelists said, I wish that I did work through college. What I did, I would kill myself during the summertime, save up and pay for everything through college that way, which is to my detriment because I could have made more connections with Johnson & Wales alumni in Providence. That's a key piece of advice for me. Providence, it's such a plethora of food service industry leaders that you can learn so much from just with different side hustles while you're in college. And then my first job out of it is kind of more of what wasn't my first job out of it. I had 6 jobs when I moved to Manhattan just to make ends meet, either by pushing a Brooklyn soda cart on the High Line to making dumplings and Flushing, Queens. Like you do whatever you've got to do to make it in the industry. So key points, take any job you can while you're in Providence. There's so much opportunity, learn from it. And number 2, take any job that you can out of college, because like Stephanie said, you keep learning and evolving, and you never know what career you're going to end up in. I never thought my passion would be kids' lunches. I thought that was Michelle Obama's, and I was mistaken. It's now my passion too.
Wow. 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 That was great. That's fantastic. What brought you to New York right after school? Is that where you're from?
I do have a couple of family members in New York, but I don't know. It's kind of like Stephanie. I went, I could make it, maybe, I'll see. I had $600 in my bank account, and the minute I graduated, 2 hours later, my U-Haul was full, and I was in Harlem already. So I just kind of had this dream of that. I want to learn from the city that just has this plethora of different ethnic communities, that I can learn anything with cuisine, but also that I knew I could do multiple side hustles in the nutrition field and the culinary field to kind of learn everything all at the same time.
Wow.
Is it healthy? No, but I did it.
No, I think it's monumental, though. I think there's something to be said about that. And I don't think there's anyone on this call that's where they, back where they started. I think everyone went out and we did a big leap. We didn't know what the next step looked like, right? We don't have a crystal ball. We don't know. But if you don't take those chances, there's so many cliches and so many kind of sayings in my head, but if you don't take those chances, how are you ever going to know? So, the students that are listening in right now, if you're not inspired yet, I'm inspired. So, think about that. Think about those things. I hope that's setting in. Good thing I'm asking two questions at once here. And I was going to jump on to question number 4, which was a kind of like, if I knew then what I know now, but I can't stop now. So now I need to know everybody's JWU story and their first job or first endeavor out of after graduation. So Jorge, how about you? Since we're doing so well with time.
Okay, well, my experience at the university, I always say this to people that ask me, but if I would have found a way to make money and stay as a student for the rest of my life, I would have never left. Those are the happiest years of my life. And I was older by the time I got there, and I wanted to squeeze every much of experience that I could of the university. So I became a TA, and that was one of the best things, I think, working at the school. And I would try to work every event possible. I never wanted to leave. I was obsessed with everything you could learn with. All these chefs are walking libraries of knowledge that I just wanted to ask questions all the time and be around them all the time and tell me this, show me that, how do you do that? And to a point that I think you guys just said, how about you just work here? Because you never, so that was fantastic. I loved it. And then my first job out of Johnson & Wales was as an R&D chef for a culinary consulting firm, which used to be owned by the company that I work for now, but it's now dissolved. It was called Food IQ. And we did a lot of menu and recipe development for large chains, QSR chains, big clients, manufacturers like Mission Tortillas or Bush's Beans.
Yeah.
So it was really helpful to have the knowledge of Johnson & Wales. And I didn't know, because I was new to the industry in the United States, the power of the name. Every time I would walk into another kitchen and there were other 5 chefs from all over the place from different companies working on a QSR chain's menu, we would start chatting. I would say, oh, I just graduated from Johnson & Wales a couple of months ago. And they were like, oh, you're going to be great, man. Like, don't worry about it. It's one of the best schools in the country. And we already know, like, it was a sign of respect that I didn't know I owned. And it wasn't until I knew other chefs that the moment I said that, they were like, oh, he's going to be fine. Like, we don't have to worry about him. He knows it. And I think that's so important that it gives you comfort and security to know that you learned what you needed to learn to go out there and then learn everything else you need to learn. But you at least know the basics that will make you feel safe to just go out there and do things.
Wow, man. And this is unscripted too, guys. This is totally just fantastic, because I feel exactly the same way. It's what gets me up in the morning. I keep coming back for more because I know what we're doing at Johnson & Wales. I know this for a fact. What we're doing at Johnson & Wales is changing these young students' lives, and they don't know it yet. And this event to me is very close to my heart, because not only are you all friends and colleagues, you're alum, and you're telling these stories from your heart. How about Mario? love to hear this because again, I think it's a great story.
For sure. And I didn't mention in my first response, but I graduated from the Denver campus 2014. I also went to the North Miami campus, so a bit of a heavy heart with the news on those two campuses. But regardless, I think my answer is my story is a perfect example of what you can do, not only with the chefs that you have in the university, but also the connections that you make thereafter. So I was taking athletic performance cuisine, and my sister went to Cornell University for hospitality. And so at that time she was about to graduate. So we're twins, so she was a semester away from graduating. And while I was taking athletic performance cuisine, Chef Sachs brought the opportunity that there was this great opportunity to cook and work for a year at Cornell University. And I looked around and I was like, okay, nobody's going to take it. But my sister's over there. He's like, I'm interested. And it was to cook for the wrestling team and and to work under the sports nutrition department for a full year. And so I took the opportunity, went to Cornell. It was kind of like a 5th year of college, super fun. But the moral of the story here is that my boss at Cornell University, the dietitian then, is now the nutrition director at the UFC. And so as time went by, I left upstate New York and continued to work, and ended up working at a 2-star Michelin restaurant in LA. And I got a call from him one day, and we hadn't spoken in a good amount of time. And he said, "Hey, are you still interested in sports nutrition?" To which I said yes, and that's how I got the connection to Trifecta. And thanks to that connection, and thanks to not only Chef Sachs, but my first job out of college, doing a good job at that place, and staying in contact in one way or another, I was able to land in the position where I am today.
That is fantastic, and that's the thread that I'm seeing through all of these stories is don't burn bridges. Stay in contact with not only your classmates. There's some of those on this call with me right now, but your instructors, your advisors. Okay, remember to do just that, right? Because it's probably not the best analogy, but they say when you're raising a kid, it takes a village, and if you kind of morph that into what it takes to be an in higher education or in any education, it takes a village. It takes a village to breed and to groom the world's best. And that's who I strongly believe we graduate. And I think it's a testament to everyone on this call. How about Kristen? I know that you have some mentors here. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your story?
Sure. So actually my first job in school was a referral from Chef Miskovich, working at Dean and DeLuca in their very temporary bread program. And so again, it was another kind of referral from a mentor that, they look around and they see you, take the job. So that was super fun. And then for my first job outside of school, I was given a referral from Chef Stam to stage for Bouchon Bakery in New York City. But the day of my stage, they called me and told me the position was filled, which was super disheartening and sad. I traveled from Providence to New York City, bought my black socks, and was really upset about that. I had spent a lot of time preparing. So I got on the phone with Mitch and Chef Sam, and they told me that they wanted to see me in California. So after a lot of deliberating with Chef Sam especially, I decided to move across the country, not knowing anybody. And here I am now. So at Bouchon Bakery, I was making bread for the French Laundry. And there were actually a lot of alumni there, people I'd known in school, people I'd heard of. So that was just like another kind of mini bridge. It made it feel less far away, and kind of, you know, we all had a lot of similar memories and mentors, especially when you get hyper focused into bread. The bread world is very small. Yeah, and so then, you know, student loans kicked in and I needed to make more than minimum wage. And so I found my job now. I started, you know, just as an entry-level baker with the vendor company that we use at Facebook called Flagship Facilities, and worked my way up through there to where I am now. And yeah, so definitely it's about connections. During my time in Johnson Wales, I was in the lab every day, all day, every day. I didn't work during school, but I definitely had a part-time job doing, you know, filming and, you know, any sort of event any of the bread guys had going on. I was right there always. So that would definitely be my takeaway, is just absorb as much as you can from as many of the instructors as possible.
Thank you so much. Interested, Mike, how, you know, what's the secret behind to the Mac sauce, man?
Well, you could actually go online and the executive chef from a while back will tell you exactly how to make Big Mac sauce if you want to learn. But so my name is Mike Haracz. I graduated in 2006 from Providence with a degree in culinary nutrition. Like a lot of the people on the panels, I started out working in restaurants. So freshman and sophomore year of culinary arts for me, relatively easy. And that makes sense because culinary school is designed for even people who have no culinary ability. So when my, you know, my choice on junior and senior year came around, it was more culinary arts, baking and pastry, or at that time, culinary nutrition, which involved all of the things I did not have experience in. So I said, I should probably do that because I can learn the other things in the industry, which made my schooling much more difficult because medical nutrition therapy, you know, food science and all those R&D classes were not something that I was normally, you know, involved with. The other thing, I also, upon leaving college, wanted to be in a metal band. So my nights, weekends, and holidays are show nights. I can't be working in a restaurant when I need to melt faces. So I tell people I fell into that R&D world. I did an internship at Orville Kent Foods in Illinois, my second trimester of senior year, and had a job lined up upon coming back to Johnson & Wales. So that third trimester senior year was a great time had by all, already having a job lined up. But very much sort of that R&D world was very exciting to me. I really wanted to try to change the world, so feed as many people as possible, which of course led me to be a corporate chef at McDonald's. But throughout my R&D career, I've developed everything from your incredibly all-natural, organic, you know, as healthy as you can be product to, let's just say, very affordable macaroni salad for a Walmart or something. So everything in between, as long as you're keeping your customer in focus. If they want a $1 McChicken, yes, that sucks from a culinary standpoint, but you're going to sell 10 million of them in a couple months, versus also wanting to try to be a positive influence on this world. So taking out artificial ingredients from food items, developing more nutritionally sound things. So I've kind of been in that world. Upon graduation.
All right. And thanks, Mike, so much for that. We'll have to talk.
Can everybody hear me? Am I?
Yeah, we were having a little technical difficulty. Might just be your connection. It happens. I'll circle back on the next question, Mike. But I want to give Jordan an opportunity to talk about Johnson Wales and his first gig outside of school.
Thank you. Yeah, so I didn't say my response either. I graduated in 2016 with a P4 degree, so that's 4 years in pastry. My story's kind of weird, long but short. You know, I wanted to be an architect actually my whole life. Never even thought about pastry. Started watching Food Network, fell in love with Food Network, and I did some research. I wanted to do baking because that's me. That's my architectural mind, just in a different medium. And I did some research. First school that came up was Johnson & Wales. I applied to one school. That is it. I got accepted, and I kind of jumped in both feet. No regrets. Was ready to just absorb everything I could. I remember my first class, Chef Haas, tempering chocolate. I mean, the nerdy science behind chocolate. I just fell in love with pastry, and it was kind of don't look back. I was able to go to France. I had a lot of opportunities with Johnson & Wales. And then I was lucky to have an internship with someone I networked with, which I learned from Johnson & Wales, at the Ritz-Carlton Amelia Island my junior year. They gave me the job actually my junior year. They wanted me to be there then, but I wanted to finish school because I also was a student athlete. I was also a student athlete. I played baseball at the college in Providence, and so I finished out school, and I made the executive decision, and I moved down to Florida by myself a week after I graduated, and I kind of been taking risks ever since. Stephanie, I kind of with you, the Food Network reached out to me a month after I graduated. I just took the opportunity, and I've kind of have rolled with it ever since. I'm still pretty young, but I've been doing a lot of things, and I'm really grateful to where I am now. And a year ago, I moved out to California, which again, never thought I would do. But all thanks to Johnson & Wales, the networking that I did, and just the chefs really, explaining that mentality of just taking risks and really being passionate about what you do. And that's exactly who I am. Very passionate about pastry, which again, never thought I would be. And it's my favorite thing to do. I do it all day.
Oh, you guys are amazing, man. Really are. You really, really are amazing. 5 minutes before we open it up to Q&A, I already see a couple of questions in there, and I want to make sure we get to the students' questions and the chef's questions. I'm going to circle back to Mike. Okay, so in 2 to 3 sentences, what you look for, and if you were hiring someone right out of school, what the characteristic or the attribute would be, and then like a final thought. I feel like Jerry Springer, but.
So what I look for now, I mean, we're fortunate or unfortunately in a world now where your personal brand very much matters for whatever company you work for. So if you are a brand ambassador for McDonald's and they give you the the appropriate training to do a news interview, and I go on and I badmouth everybody I know and my competitors, well, they're certainly not going to use me in the future, and I might have just lost a bunch of opportunities. So we live in a very digital age, especially right now with everything going on in the world. So everything you do or say not only represents the brands that you work for, but you as an individual. So if you have your LinkedIn profile polished, if you go on Twitter and have a following, if you make YouTube videos and have a following there, these are all things that make you attractive to potential employers, more so now than ever. We live in a world in the culinary field where you don't necessarily need a degree, but it is much harder to progress as fast as you want without that degree, in my opinion. The final thought is everyone is always looking at you and your brand. So if you are a horrible person, you are not nearly going to have as many opportunities as if you are a wonderful, nice, upstanding citizen of this world. So be good humans. That's my recommendation.
Love it. Love it. Absolutely. Be good citizens. Be nice. How about Mario? What do you think? If you were to hire somebody right now, what was the characteristic you'd look for, and what's the final thought for our students watching?
Yeah, for sure. Actually, we just hired about 6 months ago an executive sous chef who's now working with myself on all aspects of the job, and we also hired a director of product for Trifecta who's handling the all operations when it comes to creating or cooking all the food, which is a massive endeavor as you may imagine. And they're all Johnson & Wales graduates. So Skylar Hanka, she did her last 2 years. with myself as well, and Chef Scott. He used to be the sous chef for Hell's Kitchen for Gordon Ramsay, and he's also a Johnson was graduated, and he's now in the Trifecta team. So these individuals have that it factor, what I like to call it, and it's doing whatever it takes, no matter what, and doing it with a smile on your face. And a lot of the people here have said that as well, you know. But there's something that you can't teach a young professional, which is having that desire to do a good job no matter what, not cutting corners, and it's having that attitude. And you can see it in somebody, you can sense it.
Yeah.
It's not something that you can teach. So that's the first thing that I look for. And you know, with Skylar, she absolutely has that, and with Scott, well, he's a legend.
I love Scott. Good guy.
Yeah. And final thoughts. You know, I really like what Mike said. Personal brand is absolutely everything. And also thinking about the food industry as food, not necessarily just restaurants, or as you can see, everybody here has gone in many different paths. You know, like we're not just individuals who are meant to work in restaurants or in bakeries. We're individuals who, like, we have the power to change the food industry from what it is today to what it gets to be tomorrow. And I think that's the most exciting thing. And you guys, as current college students, you guys are the future of the industry. So whatever innovation that's in your mind, definitely go through with it. And know that, you know, we're counting on you guys and on your workforce to get us to the next level.
Awesome. How about you, Lindley?
I have a lot of things that are similar to Mario and Mike. Like branding, it really is everything. The founder for the incubator project that I have found me just through an article I was in for being nominated for Community Partner of the Year. And it's just me focusing on local farmers, even during the pandemic when they needed our help the most. And because of my LinkedIn account with that, he found me. So it's so important. And I did not know that in college at all. My LinkedIn looked terrible when I graduated. And I think what I look for when hiring individuals is a huge pill of swallowing humbleness. Like there's so many people that are coming out of college that I hear a lot of phrasing of I deserve. And I always try to recreate the narrative of we all deserve things. It doesn't mean that it's there. We all deserve, you know, free healthcare. It's not there. So I think it's just changing your idea. Like Mario said, the food service industry, it's so much more than living or dying on the line. It's any way that you can be involved in food, you just have to go for it. Did I plan on working 6 jobs to get to be a COO at one point? No, but you go with the motions because you want to keep learning, you want to keep growing. So anyone that I hire, I look for, like what Mario said, you see that spark, you see that person that's willing to take that extra initiative. And that means more to me than any type of knowledge that you have for the industry.
Love it. Soft skills. Stephanie, you're hiring me right now. What are you looking for?
Done. I mean, the only employee I have is technically my husband, so that's kind of an interesting point to try to explain.
What's his resume look like?
It's pretty long. I hired him in 2010. But when I do think about what I look for in an employee, the thing about food is food and teaching people how to cook comes very naturally to all of us, obviously. What my biggest issue was when I was in restaurants, and I was never an R&D, I was always like a restaurant cook, manager, whatever, was the willingness of my employees to show up, which was actually the largest issue that I had. And one of the reasons why I had to get out of restaurants was because I was working like 5 stations at a time. Holding yourself accountable and seeing that in somebody who holds themselves accountable, who this is a step in their career, is what I would definitely look for. Number one, because you can teach skill. That's what all of us do to a certain degree. We teach a skill, but to actually have that passion and desire to show up is the biggest thing that I ever experienced in restaurants.
Could not agree with you more. Absolutely. Hold yourself accountable. Write that one down, guys. Put it in your black book. That's very important. How about Kristen?
Yeah.
Words of inspiration.
I think probably one of the a lot of similar things across the board But something that hasn't been mentioned is the ability to kind of recover when you make a mistake. I think that's so important, to not get tripped up and, you know, in your own head when something goes wrong. Stuff happens in a kitchen, things fall on the floor, things get misscaled, all that stuff. But it's really about your recovery, how you take that as a lesson learned, and put one step forward. And then again, just, you know, integrity across the kitchen, you know, thanking the dishwasher if you have dishwashers in your place, your porters, you know, treating every individual in the kitchen with respect is so important. And I think, you know, 2020 has brought to light a lot of topics that many industries haven't talked about, but toxic kitchens is very real. And I think as the future leaders of the industry, it's all of you who can really work on combating that, become leaders who don't stand up for toxic culture and, you know, racism and all that kind of stuff. I think it's extremely important to know that while it is good to get your butt kicked, you don't have to live with it and sacrifice your whole life for it too.
Yeah, that's great. Fantastic. And another little just kind of plug we're throwing out there. We're going to be launching, you know, the college, I guess, we've officially launched the College of Food and Innovation Technology, but on March 22nd, and I'll make sure you guys all get a personal invitation, we'll be doing the Food Innovation Technology Symposium. It'll be virtual year one, but we'll get back to it. And it's really, I really want to talk to, you know, there'll be breakouts and sessions on exactly what you just talked about, Kristen, and, you know, and how we change and how we can be change to a culture that I think that we've all, you know, seen, right? And that doesn't mean that because I, you know, was yelled at and, you know, and, you know, whatever experience I've had, that I need to pass that on. And there's certainly things that we as a generation can do for the next generation to change the culture in the kitchen. So that said, thank you so much. And I'm going to introduce her, Liza Gentile. She's our Assistant Director of Alumni Relations. I want to thank her so much for her time putting this, helping put this together. And she's going to help with the Q&A session. So welcome, Liza.
Great, thanks TJ, and thanks so much for moderating.
Of course.
So the first question we have from some students is about networking. I know a lot of you have touched on that point. So in light of the current COVID effect on the industry, how can students make connections like you were able to?
At this point, you guys can probably just jump in. I already feel like I'm pointing.
I could go ahead and start, or who do we want to?
I think Jordan had raised his hand, so go ahead.
You can go. Go in. I'll go. No worries.
Perfect. So, obviously, everything right now is virtual. And when I was at Johnson & Wales is when the Facebook became available at Johnson & Wales, and you needed to use your school ID email address to get on the Facebook. And LinkedIn really wasn't a thing. But at that time in 2006, Johnson & Wales already instilled the networking, you know, reach out to people if you have questions, surround yourself with industry experts. And I think now more than ever, even pre-COVID, you see that people are now becoming famous for no other reason than they have a following or they have a strong network. They're not the smartest, they're not always correct or factual, but they have not only professionals, but fans, you know, your average person. Now you could still be engaged in a variety of communities. There may be, if you are, you know, a bread fan, like we have some folks on the panel that are bread experts. Well, we all know sourdough has been an amazing trend. Everybody who is now at home is trying to make their own sourdough bread and post it all over the internet. Well, that is a community you can engage in. You can be a thought leader in that community. You could reach out, be a celebrity or famous person, somebody that is like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you responded. that kind of interaction is invaluable. If you get somebody to follow you because you were nice and humble and taught them something, if you could do that infinity times over, you are going to be in a position where employers will want you, brands will want you, Food Networks or Bravo or whoever will want you, because you are an individual that can represent something. So if you have the ability to create a community, be a part of a community, be the voice of something, you can certainly do that right now virtually. So that way, when the doors open back up, you are going to have that much more better chance at being successful in the future.
That was great. Yeah, and honestly, from personal experience, I think the virtual world is, what we live in right now. But, reaching out to not only food industry people, the network of that is insane. I mean, I can tell you how many people I've reached out to that have no idea about food, but have got me connected to people in food. The network of just reaching out. It's never a bad idea. Nobody, I had the thought in my head, this person's going to hate me for texting them at a random time or messaging them or, reaching out to them. Nobody hates that. If anything, people like to see other people succeed. And I think that's a huge takeaway. So the network, I wouldn't be so tunnel vision of, oh, he's a chef, so I can only reach out to chefs. I mean, the network of your mom's friends, your dad's friends, your friends' friends, reaching out to those people, you'll be surprised on the opportunities that you receive. It's humbling and it's pretty exciting. So I think that's, especially during COVID, during this time, to answer that question, reaching out to those people that maybe you never thought you would reach out to is something to do. And it makes me less scared for the future. I know to you guys sitting downstairs or sitting down and watching us, may be a little nervous, but I think that's one thing that takes a lot of, pressure off yourself.
If I could jump in, I'll be super brief because I know you have a lot of questions. It's exactly what Jordan said. My opportunity came from, I was denied, I looked at this before I did this panel. I was denied for over 167 jobs before I was in the role that I'm in now. So get denied, take in the failure, because it makes you grow. It makes you see what you want to be. But during that failure, I told the owner of the company I'm with now that I was most likely going to leave California, that I needed to be re-inspired. And he goes, oh, I know the work you've done in the schools. Why don't you take over my company? I'll make you a part owner. And I had no plans of it at all. So like Jordan said, just talk to people that you have no intention of having a job opportunity, and it might come in your way, and also take in all of your denials and grow from it in a way of seeing, maybe I wasn't the right fit for this because of this.
And one thing I can add, sorry, having the good attitude, like everybody was saying, the good attitude, companies, I'm a little younger, but companies take care of good employees always, especially during this time. People learn that the hard way. But I know having a good attitude and smiling, people notice. As much as you don't think people notice, they notice. And that's definitely a number one thing I think to have as a personality trait, as any trait for a good person in the industry. But that it really goes a long way.
Awesome.
Great. We have one more question very quickly. What would you say to high school students wanting to get into the industry?
Yes, I'll go. When I was in high school, I went to boarding school. So I wasn't like anywhere near, I couldn't work during it. But during the summers, that's how I started working in cooking. I worked at a place in Marblehead called The Muffin Shop. I think that the best thing that you can do is, if it's something you're passionate about, like when I was little, I was watching Ian Kane cook and Julia Child and just so many shows. When you're that age, you're so young, you have boundless energy. You can do anything when you're 16. Really immerse yourself, go get a job. I literally fried bacon and flipped eggs for 3 summers. And then I moved on into like the local yacht club circuit where I was like Garmo and made salads and whatnot. But when you're that young, just give it a shot and do it fearlessly, because I know that I was not, I was so green. but I was also an adorable 16-year-old, so I couldn't get fired. So there's much less risk when you're 16.
That's good.
And if I may add to that, I really like what Stephanie's saying, is just starting, like start somewhere. There's no perfect start. So just by getting your foot in a kitchen and getting experience as a high school student, you're going to be so much more far ahead than if you start, during college. So starting earlier, you got so much time, and time is the best asset in this case.
Yes, it is.
Great. Thank you all. TJ, I'll turn it back over to you to close the program.
All right. Well, first I want to thank everyone for coming on and participating and watching, and hopefully your takeaway is as inspiring and just robust and rich as mine was. And again, I'm saying that from my heart because I think Jordan said it's, we should want to see other people succeed, and nothing makes me happier than listening to these stories, sharing my time, our time with these incredible people, and sharing in their success. All I want to do as a dean and an educator and a chef is to share in your success. So, here's a look at their graduation dates. They are not that long ago. You will be in a position of, in a leadership position before you know it, right? So my last piece of advice to everybody that's watching, student perspective or current, is be fearless, all right? And it's okay to have butterflies, because I think that's what keeps our feet on the ground, right? It's not this air of cockiness and I can do everything. It's not that at all. But everybody on this call has talked about taking a leap and talked about taking this kind of like jump of faith. Be fearless, okay? Remember where your beginnings are, but great things happen when you take great chances, and just remember that. Lastly, I'll say thank you so much to everyone on this call. You are incredible people. I can't wait to continue the conversation here in about 10 more minutes and welcome you all back to more specific breakouts, kind of more targeted to what we do in our respective industries or fields, or whatever you want to call it. But I just want to say thank you on behalf of Johnson Wales University. Thank you to Liza and the Office of Alumni Relations. And just, I appreciate you all. I really, really do. So have a great day. And to all my students, thanks for getting the kitchens clean nice and early. And we'll see you soon. All right. Take care.